Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a great day today. In this one, we're going to go over APLD stock, which is definitely seeing some volatility as of recently. They pulled back from $37 a share down to 35 recently, even as low as 33. So here's the thing. We're really watching this sell-off. We're even potentially saying they could sell down as low as resistance around 33, which they just touched on this morning, and maybe they sell down as low as $25 a share. Maybe they continue up to the resistance levels. That's what we're going to be going over today. Now, there's a few macroeconomics to consider today. You got the conflicts in Greenland. You have the conflicts in the tariffs, and then also the EU. Rising tensions are happening there. So a little bit of a market impact today. I mean, a big market impact today. If you just were to search up, let's say just on Google, and you just look at, stock market, you're going to see a lot related to the trade war potential that could be going on in Greenland and some of the things we just mentioned, including Bitcoin dropping about over 2% today. So that was also a sell-off we saw take place. APLD selling down about 4.95%. TSSI, we locked in profits. We set our stop loss this morning in our daily live trading session. We were able to lock in about $1,500 profit there, and we saw them sell down. But this is where the opportunities start to arise. And this is also where you have to get real about the time horizon that you have for your trades and investments. When it's APLD in the conversation, you do see this drag out from the trend. Maybe they continue a trend similar to something like this, and this is just a pullback in the greater trend. But what we know is that a lot of times, at least I don't know if it's the president's intention or what, but it seems like the markets are operating on these mini cycles where you have a rally of a couple of weeks, and then you have a pretty large pullback, that goes down for a week or 2 weeks because of news that's either fabricated or not fabricated, but that is nevertheless impacting the market negatively. And so that's kind of what you see, some reactions here. In the short term, we actually have zero trades going on in the short term, other than a dip buy this morning on CTM, which hasn't moved much. There is no short-term trades we have going. We continue to hold in APLD. You got NBIS. I have some long-term positions in TSSI and in the greater data center market, as well as the defense markets. We saw the expectation this morning that we could see some more capital, some more money going into the defense markets. But nevertheless, you see red across most of the markets. AMD pushing up a little bit after hours, Micron pushing up a little bit, about 1%. But across the board today, the large cap stocks saw slight pullbacks, and then the medium to small cap stocks saw large pullbacks, some of them pulling back as much as 10%, along with quantum computing companies selling off around 5 to 10% as well. QBTS down about 7% today. So today was a pullback, and you see it across the markets. In the data center market, so a market like APLD, it was no different. We saw, with the exception of AMD, all of the APLD related stocks. You got IREN, you have CoreWeave, TSSI, 5+ percentage points dropping today for the most part. Now that they've sold back down to this level, is this a trend? Maybe we see this support level here and then a continuation up into 40 to 41. In the past, when something like this would happen, where you have market pullbacks, APLD often reacted like a small cap stock, similar to how BITF reacted today, selling off about 9%. Whereas what's changed for APLD is not only has the data center market really seen some growth, APLD has secured more AI data center contracts totaling over $15 billion in contracts. They got a new president in their company, but really where the news came out is in their recent earnings. They reported about 2 weeks ago when they increased their revenue to $126 million in the last quarter, which was a hike from the previous quarter at just $64 million. They came in with 126 million revenue surge, and they're ramping up the revenues. Now, how are they making so much more money, and how has their cash increased to 5.2 billion? And the answer is simply just what we said. They've got more data center deals. Now, the data center deals are actually just a little bit of the piece of this 126 million. We could see a lot more potential for them to grow because of the financials only showing just a fraction of what we know is in their backlog, in their pipeline, that we would expect those deals to bring in more cash that they already have secured. And so with the cooling technology, the scalable design, and building data centers with minimized carbon footprint and going directly to the point of generation like wind and solar, and building in cold places like North Dakota, they've had that architecture be the main reason for their revenue. You don't just have any company getting selected to build the data centers or to power the AI compute that companies like CoreWeave that they work with, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Tesla need in order to power their AI revolution or the AI products that they're releasing right now. It takes more than just, a little company here that has some data centers. And that's kind of what we saw, for example, with BITF. Like, we wait for them to, as they're transferring a lot of their compute from the mining to the data center market. APLD also has seen growth in their balance sheet up to 5.2 billion. That's because they raised a lot more money in their recent rounds. They've got investments from NVIDIA and Supermicro Computer, along with Dell. Intel, Hewlett Packard are their partners, but they do have some capital, some influx of cash, recently at least, from NVIDIA. Now, if we search up APLD in the Prophecy app, get the projections, still looking bullish into the next month, about 2.8%. You can see, once again, Vanguard and BlackRock are involved. You got NVIDIA involved. Goldman Sachs is involved, and some others. If you take a look at some of the projections, once again, hopefully, if you're looking at the near term here, we could pull up the support and resistance. You get an idea of where they're at currently. They have a support level, key support level, on the time frames of the next day or so, around $35 a share. So we talked about that level quite a bit. They're currently holding at $35.50. So that hold above $35 a share, very key level for APLD, as it's a previous resistance level here that they will need to hold above in order for them to keep this trend that we just mapped out. So if they break below that $35 price point, things are looking more conservative. You maybe have a sell down to that 200-day moving average, which would be 10 to 20% drawdown from here if they can't hold $35. But looking at the support level around 35 and then resistance up around 36, they're still kind of consolidating here from left to right, meaning they're kind of going from support and resistance just in the shorter time frames. You can see that here as they consolidate, they kind of peaked out, and then currently you got that resistance right here, kind of just a consolidation from left to right over the last week. So no gains or no sell-offs, but overall there's been a sell-off from that $40 price point. But again, when you're looking at the Prophecy app, some of the projections maybe in the short term seem to be a little bit on the correction side, potentially selling down some more according to Prophecy. Haven't seen too many red projections until kind of recently. But into the next month or 3 months, after some of this conflict maybe sizzles out in the global conflict, they have some very bullish projections, at least according to Grok here. They're expected to get up to above $50 a share in the next year. Not super confident, about 55% confidence there. Volatility is heavy. But in the near term, just looking at the 1 month, about a 70% confidence there for the 2.8% gain. And when we consider the AI model and we run it through Rigetti, for example, we could do that here. Let's see which time frame, according to the quantum analysis, has the most confidence. Looking at tomorrow, we might see a recovery, about an 80% confidence. We'll see a recovery, a bounce around 35. continuing up into this $36 to $37 price point for APLD tomorrow. But overall, once again, as you look into some of the longer term timeframes or medium term, there's some volatility ahead, as you could tell here with some of the sell downs. That's just taking into account the markets, the financials, the news, all those things that I look at. The AI model is looking at right now, the technical analysis as well, and considering it in these projections and all the real-time data that we give it. So that's why it looks this way. So when it comes down to current facts of what we know, they're still slightly undervalued compared to their deal size that they have. So that's why we say maybe they hold this level $35. If they do, next target's up to 41. That's an 18 to 20% gain if they can continue that trend that they're in, this trend here that is in the greater uptrend. Otherwise, just watch that $35 price point on the short term. Long term still looks really good for the company as they get more investments backing and provide more value to the data center market. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to tune on in, we were just trading this morning in our live session. We like to also trade the downside of the market to capitalize on downside swings. If you'd like to be there at market open Monday through Friday, see my entries, see my exits, and watch me trade live, it's going to be the second link below in StockMate. Just, on the surface here, without digging too deep, we have over 6 positions with over 100% returns over the last few months. We also have over 30 tracked millionaires inside of StockMate. You can see some of the investors that are here that RSphere has been very active. I love to see it, RSphere. Congratulations. That they all have a very strong focus on the fundamentals. And we have many members, intermediate and beginner. But if you want to chat with some millionaires and send me a message, you can always do that in the second link in the description below. Oh, and by the way, we just added some new materials in the targets for the week. So if you'd like to see those each week as well, along with fundamental and technical analysis, it's going to be there in StockMate too in the second link below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.